everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and I'm here with yet more news stories for you. Excuse me if I sound or look a little bit ropey. I am full of the hay fever. But I am ploughing on regardless. And by the way, once again, Tom has asked me to remind you that all of the updates regarding the very serious allegations coming out in not just British wrestling, but across the world of wrestling right now, will all be updated in his news video, which I believe has already gone up on this channel. So do check that out to stay informed. But in this news video, we are dealing with all of the other stories from the world of wrestling. So without any further ado, let's take a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, two Smackdown superstars have been drafted to Raw following AJ Styles' switch to the blue brand. Next up, a WWE TV show has been suspended by Fox. And finally, a very exciting title match has been added to the upcoming Extreme Rules pay-per-view. So first of all, you might remember that last month AJ Styles was traded from Raw to SmackDown, but it wasn't really revealed to us who was going to be moving in the opposite direction. WWE just worded it as something like AJ Styles has been traded to SmackDown for future considerations, meaning that in future some superstars will be traded from SmackDown to Raw, but we didn't know who yet. Well, now we do. Yes, it was revealed last night that two superstars have been traded from SmackDown to Raw, and they are, well, first of all, Dolph Ziggler, which was more obvious, more apparent, because he was very much a focal part of last night's Raw, and also Robert Roode. Now, if you're not really keeping up with the current day WWE product as closely as many of us are, you might be thinking, why do Raw get two superstars in exchange for just one going to SmackDown? We all know that AJ Styles is really good, but does that mean he's worth two other wrestlers? Well, it turns out yes, that does exactly mean that, because Raw is, of course, 3 hours long, SmackDown's only 2, Raw needs more wrestlers to fill the show. You could, I mean, an argument could be made to say that WWE have a far too big a roster anyway, but that's an entirely different issue. So yes, AJ Styles has gone to SmackDown and won the Intercontinental Championship, and a month later, after Styles was originally traded, we found out that Ziggler and Roode have headed over to Raw. And it seems as though Ziggler has been thrust straight into storyline contention. Drew McIntyre opened the show, of course, he is the WWE Champion, why wouldn't he? But he was interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, who said he was owed a WWE title shot, and Drew accepted, and that match was made official. They will face each other at Extreme Rules. Now, at the start of this video, when I said that an exciting title match has been announced for Extreme Rules, this is not the one that I was talking about. There is another title match that was also confirmed on this show. And I know a lot of people are immediately going, oh, Ziggler again in another title picture, but at the same time, I think I can forgive it in this instance because they do have history. Remember when McIntyre first came up from NXT to the main roster and he was kind of Ziggler's lackey? There were a lot of comparisons drawn between them and HBK and Diesel, for example. So I think there is logic behind this decision. In the case of Robert Roode, I guess there's good and bad news, because on one hand you could say, wow, they've given Ziggler a big storyline straight off the bat. Maybe they'll do the same for Robert Roode. The bad news is, I guess, that Roode is Dolph Ziggler's tag team partner, however infrequent their teaming has been recently, and he doesn't really seem to be involved with anything at the moment. He doesn't really seem to be in a storyline. In fact, I don't think he even appeared on last night's Raw in person. Hopefully, as things move forwards, now that Ziggler's in a singles feud, maybe their tag team's ended, hopefully for Roode, we see something involving him pretty soon. Next up, some sad news which involves people losing their jobs. First broken, this story was by Sports Business Journal. That's because FS1 recently announced that they will be scaling back a number of their shows, and that one of these is WWE Backstage, meaning that it will no longer be a weekly show on the network. Now, unfortunately, this does mean that 20 producers and talents will be losing their jobs, and Fox Sports then issued the following statement to Post Wrestling on their decision to pull Backstage from their weekly production, saying, "Today, we announced programming changes designed to better address the needs of our business. As a result, some positions in our production department have been eliminated." However, there is a glimmer of hope, because Fox Sports did stop short of saying that the show had been cancelled outright and hinted that maybe it would return around WWE's larger events, possibly once the lockdown is over, maybe even while the lockdown's still going on. They didn't really make that clear, but they did refuse to cancel the show outright. Now, obviously, this leaves us wondering what's going to happen to the various WWE stars who are a regular part of WWE Backstage, such as, of course, Renee Young, Booker T, Paige, Christian, and of course, CM Punk. Now, I think in Punk's case, it might be a little bit different because he has really stressed in the past that he is not a WWE employee, he is a Fox employee. But he has not given any sort of public update, at the time of this video's recording anyway, to suggest that he has been let go or in any way removed from Fox, I suppose. I guess because of Punk's rather outspoken nature, we can assume that he would if circumstances change, but then again, it's the man's private life. I don't know if he will. He certainly has no right. We have no right to know what's going on with his situation, is what I'm rather messily trying to say. And because it's Punk, we do have to address the age-old question: does this mean that Punk's going to jump to WWE? My gut feeling right now is no, because despite not being a WWE employee, and perhaps the removal of this show means that he could become one in the future, we have to remember the rather strained relationship between Punk and WWE. In fact, I think I remember reading reports around the time that it was very much a Fox decision to include Punk in the show, not a WWE decision. And because of the well-documented stories of animosity between Punk and many in WWE, including big names like Vince McMahon and Triple H, I think that we would be grasping at straws a little bit to suggest that this means that Punk is going to move to WWE, move to the actual product, Raw and Smackdown and what have you. I can't realistically see that happening, but anything can happen in wrestling, you just never ever know. Next up, a WWE legend is hosting a global concert, and it's none other, I might as well just get straight to it, it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, everybody. Yes, The Rock took to Twitter to promote the event, which is Global Citizens Global Goal Unite for Our Future concert. It's a concert premiering on June 27th, and The Rock says it will shine a light on the work we can do to create a healthier future for everyone, everywhere. Clearly a response to the ongoing global pandemic, which is really nice. It's a really good thing for The Rock to be doing. More information can be found about the concert, again, remember June 27th, by heading to Global Citizen's website, which is Global Citizen, but without the vowels in it. So it's glblctzn.me/Unite for Our Future, or following the hashtag Global Goal Unite. And there are some big names involved as well. Interesting to note that The Rock's name, Dwayne Johnson, is the top of the poster. It's got presented by or hosted by Dwayne Johnson. Then it's got the bands underneath. But there are some large, very famous musical acts on here. I mean, I'll just read off some of the names: Shakira, Coldplay, Usher, A-Town, Peace Up, A-Town Down, of course, Jennifer Hudson, Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber and Quavo, together as one, a tag team if you will, and then some names that I'm not cool enough to recognize. And also appearances by just a number of huge A-list celebrities such as Chris Rock, David Beckham, Golden Balls himself, the font's very small, I'm squinting here, Hugh Jackman, Charlize Theron. There's a lot of big names here. Olivia Colman, from Peep Show? Oh, and she won an Oscar. So yes, it looks like a great cause, and obviously a man as magnetic and charismatic as The Rock is a great choice to host the event, or you'd think. I mean, it didn't work out too well at WrestleMania 27, but that was more booking decisions rather than any fault of the Rock himself. Anyway, for more information, yes, head to the hashtag Global Goal Unite. The next guest for the 7th episode of the Steve Austin Show on the WWE Network has been revealed, and the show is set to drop at Sunday, June 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern, or in British time, 3 p.m. British time, if my maths is right. And the guest of honor this time is none other than the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. Now, this is a very interesting choice because Mark Henry is one of the longest tenured WWE superstars around today and must have so many stories and experiences to share. He's been around since the 90s. He's been through many different gimmicks. He's had massive highs and lows in his career. I mean, there were the controversial angles with Mae Young. There was the whole sexual chocolate thing. But then when he was treated as an actual threat, like the Hall of Pain later in his career, or the fake retirement against John Cena, that iconic segment now in that lovely salmon jacket, I'm sure that he has just such a myriad of experiences to draw upon, and hopefully shares a lot of them, or his thoughts on a lot of them, in this podcast, or show, I guess, this interview. And I am a fan of these shows, even if I'm not particularly a fan of the wrestler involved. Obviously, we've had like the biggest of the big icons in the world of wrestling, like The Undertaker, appear on the show before, but even the smaller or arguably less popular guests have turned in very, very interesting interviews, I think in part because Austin is so good at having a conversation. He's a very good conversationalist. Other guests on the show include, if you want to check out some old episodes, include The Big Show, Bret the Hitman Hart, Bill Goldberg, The Undertaker, and also, of course, Austin's personal favorite wrestler, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. So yes, once again, I'm very excited for that. I'm definitely going to be checking it out when it comes out on Sunday, June 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time. And as I mentioned, as I like to stress, do check it out, even if you're not particularly a big fan of Mark Henry, because He's been around WWE for so very long. It seems like he'll have a lot of stories and a lot of experiences with just a whole host of different wrestlers from the WWE roster. So even if you're not too familiar with Mark Henry, even if you don't really care that much about him in ring, I'd still check it out because I imagine it's going to be a very interesting interview. And finally, of course, next month sees the Extreme Rules pay-per-view on July 19th. And last night on Raw, we saw the booking of an incredibly interesting title match for Asuka's Raw Women's Championship. The angle leading into this title match started when Sasha and Bayley successfully defended their women's tag team titles against the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and in the aftermath, Sasha mentioned that she was jealous of Bayley being a double champion. Of course, Bayley currently holds one of the tag belts and the Smackdown women's title. And because Sasha said she was jealous, it very much seemed like they were finally going to pull the trigger on this impending feud between Sasha and Bayley and give everyone the rematch we so desperately want from their NXT days. However, they pulled a little swerveroony, but not a bad one, not one to be disappointed in at all, because there's still a lot of time for Sasha and Bayley to turn on each other, but this is a really interesting match. Sasha instead said, "I'm jealous of Bayley being a double champion, I want to be one myself," and challenged Asuka for her Raw Women's Championship. That means we're going to get Sasha versus Asuka at Extreme Rules, which is a match that I think could potentially absolutely blow the doors off the show. It could be an incredibly good match, and it's excited a lot of people on social media as well. Sasha and Asuka are two of the best wrestlers in the company. We've put both of them in the same match. What's not to enjoy? Now, of course, because it's Extreme Rules and because there's quite a few weeks left until Extreme Rules, there is always the possibility of the match being, I guess, saddled with a bit of a stipulation. But in my personal opinion, I just want to see Asuka and Sasha go out there and have just a straight up singles match, show what they can do in the ring, and hopefully put on an absolute barn burner. And of course, I mentioned earlier on in this video that we are also going to get a WWE title defense for Drew McIntyre against Dolph Ziggler. Once again, there is always the chance, because it's Extreme Rules, of a stipulation being added to the match. I don't doubt that Drew and Dolph could put on an excellent match. They're both great wrestlers in the ring, but because, you know, people are just so sour on Dolph all the time, I wonder if a stipulation would maybe make things better. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. So far, no other matches have been added to the Extreme Rules card, but as I mentioned, there are still quite a few weeks left of TV programming until the show itself. So we'll keep an eye out for that. We'll keep you updated as and when matches are added to the show. And so far, I think it looks like a really good card. I mean, there's only 2 matches on it. There's a long way to go. I won't get too excited. So that's it for all of the news in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember, of course, to check out Tom's news video, which has already dropped earlier today on this very channel. My recommended match for today, it's Sasha and Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I may have even recommended it before, but I don't care. Watch it again. It's so good, really good. One of the best WWE matches of the past decade or so, maybe even longer. So yes, thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Remember to stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.